Magic kind of floating around there, borderline playoff team now. So, but yeah, that brings us to the elephant in the room, which is our first segment. So we'll hop right in because that's what everybody's here for. That's what everyone is here to listen about to this pod. It is taken over the city. It's fever. It's fever-ridden between everybody. It is a civil war in the city of Chicago right now, a literal civil war for people that are not in the city right now. So let's get to our first segment, the elephant in the room. You know me, I got to have some sort of sound effect and video ready for us, just like I do on Roll Slappers. But Justin Fields versus Caleb Williams. Whew. Now, this is fun because I've started on Team Caleb. Right when the season ended, I was probably Team Caleb before the season ended. You weren't. This is one of those things where it drifted into that realm for you. What happened?
Well, honestly, two things happened. First of all, you happened in your relentless approach at sending me picture after picture about how actually awful Justin Fields is a passer. So you happened because you were relentless and you didn't stop. And then the NFL playoffs happened, and C.J. Stroud happened, and Jordan Love happened. And I wore the Justin Fields jersey for 72 hours the final weekend of the season because I had a feeling it would be the last time I'm going to get to wear this jersey. And I said, maybe if we go out against Green Bay and the kid balls out and goes crazy, he's going to be a Chicago Bear next year. We're going to get to build around this kid that I love so much. And then he goes out and throws 16 passes in the game. And I mean, is that his fault? No, that's play calling. But he's not coming back. And then the playoffs came, right? And I know what my brain sees all year is that he's not a great passer, Justin Fields. I mean, no disrespect to him at all. He's just not a great passer. And it kind of is what it is. And he doesn't have to be a great passer. It doesn't need to be his strength. You know, he's a great athlete, man. He's a great rushing quarterback. He's the most athletic quarterback maybe of all time. You put him top 5, Michael Vick, Cam Newton, Lamar Jackson, Justin Fields. I mean, that dude can make special plays with his feet. And then once you actually call plays around his strengths, get him out of the pocket, bootleg him, then he can do some things with his arm. But at the end of the day, and again, this is twofold. So I'll say it. When Justin gets out of the pocket, there's such a huge chance for injury for him, right? Because he's constantly on the move. Now, you could say with the shitty offensive line, if he's just 3-step, 5-step, 7-step dropping, he can just sit there and get beat up all day in the pocket, which he does, because even as a mobile quarterback, he doesn't read the field properly. He doesn't go through his progressions quick enough, which also hurts him, why he holds onto the ball longer, which is why he fumbles so much and why he eats so many sacks. So when you're taking all that into effect, and then you watch the playoffs, and you just see a guy like C.J. Stroud, and Tank Dell's a stud, Nico Collins stud. Who the fuck is Nico Collins and who the fuck is Tank Dell who is Brevin Jordan? Like, who are these guys that C.J. Stroud's throwing to? And the whole argument with Justin Fields is
Devin Singletary, the running back. They
got the 30th fucking worst, the second worst running game in the league. Houston, they got nothing to support Stroud there.
O-line was ranked 21st too in the season there, so it wasn't that great. Right. The time to pressure for Stroud and Fields are almost identical. Like, it wasn't too different when you look at those two things. So, and Stroud just much more comfortable in the pocket and getting rid of that football.
So progressions, and then the guy fucking up north, dude, and what he's done the last 6 weeks of the season. And what he did in the fucking playoffs, even in the losing effort to San Francisco, that interception was awful to end that game. But, dude, I mean, what first-year quarterback getting into the playoffs doesn't throw a horrible interception in their second career playoff game? You know what I mean? Like that.
Yep.
Like that's something that just happens. The kid is so good in the pocket. He just quick step back drop. He looks like Aaron Rodgers. It makes me sick to my stomach. And I'm just sitting there and I'm like, and you're going to go over all these numbers, right?
Oh yeah, that's where we're
right. But man, when you sent me the thing, the graph that said Justin Fields has only thrown over 225 yards 6 times in his career, I wanted to fucking throw up, because any fucking competent NFL quarterback can go out there and throw over 225. I mean, look at Nick Mullins with San Francisco, fucking Minnesota. Nick Mullins went out there and chucked 3 out of 5 games over fucking 300. Kyler Murray, 7 out of 8 of his starts over 225 this year. I mean, it's gross, bro. I want a passing quarterback, and I'm going to let you talk and discuss a little bit, and then I'm going to go over their scouting reports that I've seen, because it's really kind of crazy, the Justin Fields scouting report coming out of college and the Caleb Williams scouting report coming out of college, and just how crazy fucking accurate they are. But
that's nice.
Lean towards the Caleb side of things.
Yeah, the 225 thing you were talking about too, for anyone that doesn't know out there, it's passing yards of 225 in 2023 alone. That's this season. Jared Goff did it 14 times. We'll just use our division for Jared Goff did it 14 times. Jordan Love did it 12 times. Kirk Cousins played a half a season. He did it 6 times. Justin Fields has 6 in his entire career. Not in 2023, his entire career. And when you start breaking it down, like Kevin Fishbane from The Athletic posted this, his numbers so it's, I think this is where it gets hard, because he's awesome. He's an awesome human being, right? Awesome guy. He's well loved in the city. He does everything you want off of field. He says the right things. He's the nicest guy. He's basically everything you want in a human being, and it's an easy human being to root for. However, you said something that kind of stood out about. Remember Velus Jones?
Yeah.
Do you remember when you were watching and you were like, maybe Velus Jones is going to be our Cordell Patterson next year?
Yeah.
And this sounds crazy.
I don't take that back. I stand by that. I very much stand by that.
And this is probably what you're saying to me right now is, where are you going with this? This doesn't make any sense. Why are you bringing Velus Jones into this? But then you looked it up and you go, yeah, it seemed like he got better at rushing the football. And then you go, oh, there was only 8 carries on the season.
Yeah.
That's right. That's almost kind of what it's like with Justin Fields. You see a big play and you see a pass here, and you see one big play a game, a couple plays a game, and you think to yourself, like, good Lord, he's talented. But then when you break it down and you watch the All-22, you're like, wow, well, 90% of the time he really wasn't that good. And then he made a couple big plays out there, and then we blame Luke Getsy for everything. But Kevin Fishbane, his stats on the season, total rank this year, completion percentage 61.4. He ranked 29th in the NFL this year. Touchdowns per attempt, he was 17 at 4.3. Interceptions per attempt, 2.4, 23rd in the NFL. His sack percentage, 10.6. That's 31st in the NFL. Jesus. YPA, yards per attempt, 6.9, 20th in the NFL. Passer rating, 86.3, 22nd in the NFL. QBR, 46.2. That's 23rd in the NFL. EPA per attempt, 0.08. That's 23rd in the NFL. EPA per dropback, negative 0.05, 25th. EPA versus blitz, that's a negative 7.17, 28th. So the rushing stuff, great. That's always been there. Anything that throwing the football quarterback related has just been bad for Justin Fields. So when you start breaking that down, I knew about halfway through the season when we had a shot at Caleb, I was like, we got to get him. We have to. I've seen enough of this. I don't think it's going to get better. And with all due respect to Justin Fields, he does have a lot of talent, and the Bears might have ruined him. But now he's going to go on his third offensive coordinator here in a 4-year span. So nothing adds up to investing in that when you have the number 1 overall pick. You just can't. Based on the stats and everything that we've seen, and we'll keep breaking it down as we go here, there's plenty more to come. You just can't. You have to make the move to Caleb Williams. Now you've done the scouting report, so let's get into that a little bit. So go ahead.
Yeah, I mean, God, those advanced analytics are phenomenal. I knew you were going to bring that heat, dude, like only you can. But I'm going to read 2 scouting reports. I'm going to read Justin Fields' scouting report, which is just so crazy accurate. And then I'm going to read Caleb Williams' scouting report. And you talk about a guy who just went on live air today and said that there is nothing that Patrick Mahomes can do from a passing perspective that he can't do. And I love that swag and confidence, all right? Justin Fields. Fields has good size, excellent arm strength, and remarkable athleticism for the quarterback position. He has produced monster numbers both passing and rushing in the Buckeye spread system. He is at his best when he throws on time and in rhythm. The ball jumps out of his hand, and he can deliver it accurately at all 3 levels. When the defense takes the initial target away, he's had issues quickly aborting that opportunity, which has made him late on throws and also results in sacks. He has shown flashes of quickly getting deeper in his progressions, 2021 Sugar Bowl against Clemson, but that part of his game is still a work in progress. He's a dynamic runner. His first step is explosive, and he pulls away from defenders with ease. He's also incredibly tough, as evidenced by his performance after getting drilled in the semifinal against the Tigers. Overall, I think Fields has a chance to be special, but it's going to take some time for him to speed up his clock in the passing game. Now, could that not be any more spot on? We are sitting here after his third year in the NFL, and he still isn't progressing through his reads correctly. He's taking extra sacks, he's fumbling the football, and he's still throwing the ball behind people. So I know the NFL, the quarterback position in the NFL takes a while to develop, but going into year 4, he is still doing exactly what the scouting report says. Now let's flip it. Let's flip it to Caleb Williams, all right? And we're talking about what we want in a quarterback. We want a passer. We want a CJ Stroud. We want a Jordan Love. We want a guy who's going to get the ball out of his hands quick. We want a guy who's going to read through his progressions quickly, right? Throw the ball downfield quick. So Williams has average height and a thick muscular build. He is a natural thrower and delivers the ball with accuracy and velocity from a variety of platforms and arm angles. He can power the ball into tight windows while stationary or on the move. He can also finesse the ball when needed. He has lightning quick hands in the RPO game. He's a dynamic runner and makes defenders look silly in space. He can run by you, through you, or make you miss. He did fall into some bad habits at USC during the 2023 season. He hunts big plays and always looks to exhaust plays with his legs instead of taking checkdowns. Also, he can get too loose with the ball when swinging it wildly, which leads to fumbles. His creativity makes him special, but he will need to play more on schedule at the next level. Overall, Williams has areas in which he needs to improve, but he has franchise-altering upside. And that is everything that we are yearning for in a quarterback. We want a passing quarterback that, sure, he can make plays with his legs, that has that athleticism, but we need a guy who's going to make plays in the pocket. And based on that scouting report, and what have we said about Caleb Williams, Streetz, when we have our conversations? The reason that he's kind of playing loose with the ball and he got loose in 2023, the dude's bored out of his fucking mind, dude.
Although he's bored. His O-line sucked this year, too. The time to throw, big part of that O-line this season, too. USC also playing behind the entire time because their defense was the worst almost in all of college football this year, which did not help them at all. But I'm glad you say that because, if we're going to talk about throwing the football, that's what we want. We want a pocket passer now who can scramble, though. If 300, 400 rushing yards a season, I think is fine. If you're going to throw for 4,100 or something like that. So that's completely acceptable. Dual threat, but pocket first is kind of what we're looking for. So throwing the football related. If prospect-wise here, as you broke down their scouting reports, Justin Fields, he played in 34 games. He had 67-9 touchdown to interception ratio, and he threw for 5,700 yards in those 34 games. Let's look at the first-round wide receivers Justin Fields played with while doing so. Garrett Wilson, Chris Olave, Jackson Smith, JSN, Jamison Williams, 4 first-round wide receivers at one point Justin Fields played with, threw for 5,700 yards with them. Caleb Williams in 37 games has 93-14 touchdown to interception ratio. He's thrown for 10,082 yards. His first-round wide receivers, he's thrown the football to Jordan Addison and end of list. That's it. He's done more with less than Fields did with more in his college career. So prospect-wise alone, Caleb is better. So I don't want to stop the nonsense of, if you put these two in the same draft class right now, you're taking Justin. No, you're not.
No, you're not.
You're just
way.
You're bananas, and it's just your emotion about Fields that you like so much right now that has you clouded there a little bit. So you're taking him. And I saw what that comment was too. He's a diva.
Awesome.
The diva thing, right? That always makes me laugh. How? So Austin, explain to me this. Every single one of his teammates loves him. Every coach in that building adores him. From his high school days, from when he would buy lunch for all of his linemen already in high school to everything. Are you using when he wouldn't talk to the media that one time, or when he cried on his mom? or are you just from what his dad is saying? Do you not like it?
I liked when he cried on his mom personally.
Yeah, it doesn't bother me either.
I'm a crier, so I thought that would like endeared him to me, honestly.
We blow up narratives. We do it every year. CJ Stroud had narratives last year going into the draft too, and it's why he got shoved behind Bryce Young. And now look at that, because the whole narrative issue with CJ Stroud, who's laughing to the bank right now? Stop. Like, that doesn't bother me at all. His dad is the one who made the comment that everybody blew up about, and they want to play for the Bears, and and even I think that was taken just a little too far. Mike Wilbon is on Waddle and Sylvie every single Wednesday and knows Caleb's dad very well, and says he's not even as bad as like the comments make him seem to be. He's actually a really nice guy. Everybody gets the ball feel for the Lamar Ball, whatever pops feel to him, and I don't even think he's that bad. But if there was anybody that's saying anything, it's probably his dad. And Albert Breer kind of agreed to that too, and that would be the one voice in his corner that could be a little, it's not diva-ish either. I don't know what the word is, but Caleb himself does not worry me when it comes to diva in any which way capacity. People love that guy in that locker room. So
that's true. I mean, Graydon said he thinks the Bears should do a rebuild like Houston did, build your team, then get the quarterback. Doc had a great retort. He said Houston rebuild was basically getting Stroud.
Yeah, no, there wasn't. Houston didn't rebuild. They got CJ Stroud. That was the rebuild.
I mean, they had the quarterback. They had Will Anderson on defense, and they got the new coach. I mean,
without CJ Stroud, there is no rebuild. Houston's picking in the top 5 again.
We could easily, with what we have currently in place, with Justin Fields this year, if we had a competent offensive coordinator, I firmly believe that, and I was screaming it, we could have been 11-6, at worst 10-7. We would have been in the playoffs. God only knows the way we were playing after we got Montez Sweat. What could have happened? Do I think we would have won the Super Bowl? Fuck no. But do I think we maybe could have fucking upset someone in the playoffs and won a playoff game? Yeah, I do.
You know what you just said too? A perfect segue. I love it. You read my mind on this one. I like what you just did.
Good. But yeah, I'm saying then you bring in a Caleb Williams, right? And then you cut fucking bitch ass Eddie Jackson, and then you cut it bitch ass Cody Whitehair. And I'm keeping Velus Jones because I think he can turn into Cornell Patterson. All right. And he's only a 980,000 roster cut. So I'm keeping him, but I'm cutting Whitehair, I'm cutting Eddie Jackson. That puts us at number 2 overall in salary cap. So you go and get a Brian Burns and you add to that fucking defense, dude. You go and get another safety. And then let's not pretend that Justin Fields isn't going to net us back. Mel Kiper is still screaming that Atlanta would give us pick 8 for him. Pick 8? I don't think that's a real thing. But even if we can get an early second-round pick for Justin Fields, go and get you an early second-round pick for Justin Fields. Take Caleb Williams. We pray to God that we have the real quarterback for the first time in our lives. I mean, Rick Spielman, the former GM of the Minnesota Vikings, he came out, quick little game they played. Who would you rather, Caleb Williams or this quarterback? He went back every number 1 overall pick in the draft, even over Joe Burrow, which I think was fucking crazy. He took him over Joe Burrow. He went to Andrew Luck. He said he would take Andrew Luck, but even going back to Peyton Manning, he said Caleb Williams over Peyton Manning. That is how much some people believe in this fucking kid, dude. So how could we pass on such a generational talent when we've never had a generational talent at the quarterback position? Justin Fields, I love you to death. You are my favorite player since Devin Hester. But my guy, great luck to you in ATL. I hope nothing but the best for you, and give me Caleb Williams. And that's where I'm at with this.
Yeah. He's an easy human to root for. That's plain and simple. And wherever he goes, I'll be a Justin Fields fan. It's hard to, when it comes to this, I have to remove emotion at times a little bit. And I got to go more to just the football, be on the field, the game, not the off the field. So when I remove that emotion, yes, it's time for Caleb Williams to me. And yeah, you could rebuild. You're still a playoff team. So that's the thing. Next year, I absolutely think you can be a playoff team with Caleb Williams. The floor is not really that. The floor right now, look, Justin Fields is Marcus Mariota in his first 3 seasons out there. That's what he's been. You're the one who showed me that.
Mariota's been better, and so has Mitch. Mitch has been better than Justin Fields. Okay?
So there you go. So if that's the floor you're gunning for with Caleb Williams, I think you're fine. And I'm not worried. A lot of people get that's the other thing I got here too for us, just in case people want to know. Like, well, what if he busts the number 1 overall pick? Because a bust. Everybody's using the word bust right now. He's going to bust. Why would you waste the first pick on a like? First off, number one pick, odds alone, percentages alone, is actually not as bad as people think when you take a quarterback. There's been a couple. I saw someone posted this. Bryce Young, but I still think he's going to get better. The verdict is not out on him. Please, I don't even include him in this. But Jamarcus Russell, David Carr, and Tim Couch, if we go back the last 30 years, are technically the only below standard or busts that were taken number one overall. In the last 30 years, there's been 20 total quarterbacks that have been taken number one overall. 70% of them have thrown for 4,000 yards. 70% of the quarterbacks taken first overall have thrown for 4,000 yards. Half of them have thrown for 30-plus touchdowns. 81% of them have started over 80 games in their career, taken number one overall. 70% of the quarterbacks taken number one overall in the last 30 years have a playoff win. A playoff win. And 70% of them have also made a Pro Bowl out of the quarterbacks that were taken number one overall. So if we're using odds alone here, I mean, 70% is a pretty astronomical high number here. That's 7 out of 10 that you take number one overall. I'm just saying the odds aren't as bad as you think they are when it comes to all these busts that I hear when I hear that word too loosely. So I'm not worried about that in that regard either. So yeah, I'm taking Caleb Williams.
I just think people just don't like the kid because of the shit his dad says, and then something in the stands.
I think that's a fair assessment.
And when you do want to look at the Streets, we didn't. Austin, we're going to answer your question in 1 second. Drake Mayer, Jan Daniels, but Streets. When you look at like the trade package you could get for that number one overall pick, because that's where people are hyping. You know, that's where what it's called on the Fields cult, right? Like, there's a petition out there you showed me today that like, to keep Fields. I mean, someone like. Those are like some death threats or some shit about keeping Fields, but the trade package you can get from trading down from number one, that's like the big hype, right?
That is.
So, theoretically speaking, if you trade down to number 2 to Washington and they want to move up, I mean, Washington's fucking in shambles. They have no head coaching option. They're gonna have a lame duck head coach. Caleb, why the fuck would Caleb want to go to Washington at this point? But say like New England came up from 3 to 1 because they wanted to make that move. Get Caleb Williams, and they offered 3 firsts, 2 seconds, and I forget the defensive tackle's name. And that's 6 overall players. Is that something that you're thinking about doing and then building around Justin? Or are you saying fuck that, fuck all that capital? We're just going to Caleb.
I'm going to Caleb. And you want to know why I'm going to Caleb? You're just on fire today with just wheeling me right into this, like you're just pushing me right in. There's no package that's big enough for Caleb Williams. Because to me, in my mind, you have to get the quarterback right. You have to. There's nothing more important. I don't care how many Pro Bowl players you add to your roster. The quarterback is more important. And there's nothing. We have never seen it. To sustain success in this league, you have to have the quarterback right. That is the first thing you have to have. The quarterback can cover up holes on other teams. And I know people that are listening to this are going to go, but there's been other quarterbacks won the Super Bowl before Trent Dilfer, and they're going to bring up all these names out of. If we go back 30 years, there's like 4 or 5 quarterbacks. That's like 5% of the quarterbacks in the last 30 years are bad. But they're like, but they did it. But we want sustained success, right? Sustain. Trent Dilfer was not even on the team next year. The Ravens only had 1 more playoff win for 8 seasons after that Trent Dilfer. 1 playoff win. Dynasty defense. They weren't a dynasty. They won 1 Super Bowl with Trent Dilfer, and they won 1 playoff game again until another rebuild. Brad Johnson in the Bucs dynasty, I hear. So you build the team around the quarterback. They had 2 playoff appearances and 2 winning seasons for the next 12 seasons in Tampa Bay. That's it. They were nothing, and basically until Tom Brady got there. Joe Flacco, want to call him again. Build it. Look at the team around him, that defense, everything. Blah 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 blah. He only had 2 more winning seasons until they drafted Lamar. That was it. Winning seasons. I'm not even talking about playoff. That's it. So I think that was 6 seasons or so. Out of those 6 seasons, only 2 of them were winning. They went 500 a couple times. Nick Foles won a Super Bowl. I hear that too in this one. They went 22-25 after that Super Bowl with Foles Wentz. Then they changed coaches, and then they got Jalen Hurts. I don't see a whole lot of sustained success here with that quarterback method that you're going with. You want to know where I see sustained success? You're wearing his jersey right now.
Holmes, baby.
They've had bad O-lines. People go, well, they got a good O-line. Well, they had bad ones. They had a real bad one for a year. Remember when they ended up signing every offensive lineman that was available. They took Kyle Long off the street.
They lost in the Super Bowl. The only reason they lost in the Super Bowl was because their offensive line had 4 out of 5 damaged pieces.
Yeah, and Kyle
not good pieces on top of that.
Kyle Long was sitting at home playing video games, and they brought him in to try to play again, to come out of retirement. That's how bad that line was at that point. It's gotten better now. Weapons, they led the league in drops this year. That's how bad his wide receivers were. But he still had to, if you put those stats in Chicago quarterback history, good Lord, that you're building a statue. That's how good that season was still for Patrick Mahomes. Like, it's still the greatest season the Chicago Bears have ever seen.
You don't even need to go on that level. Like, yes, we want Super Bowls. We'd love to be in the Super Bowl 4 out of 5 years, sure. But you go to a Josh Allen level, all right? They've been in the playoffs for 3 years, sure. They get disappointed every season, yes. But they get there, and they get to the divisional round every single fucking year.
So they're a good point. That's what, yeah.
That now, Wallace, what's my saying? If you're not first, you're last.
Yep.
Of course. But the only way that you can get to being first is by getting a ticket to the dance. And they get a ticket to the dance to the Final Four every single fucking year. Why? Yep. Because they have the fucking quarterback. Cincinnati Bengals. Where were they this year? Exactly. Because they didn't have the quarterback. With Joe Burrow, they will be in the Final Four every single year.
Yep.
The quarterback is the most vital piece in all of sports. And that's why guys like Daniel Jones get $40 million a year to play the position.
And that's what you don't want with Justin Fields. You don't want to enter what I call quarterback purgatory, which is basically what the Bucs are about to enter this round. I hate to say this. So any Tampa fan that are out there right now, I hate to tell you this, but you're never winning a Super Bowl. So you can give Baker Mayfield all the money you want in the world. You're never going to win a Super Bowl. You're not going to make an NFC Championship game.
He's going to get 45 to 50.
Oh, he's going to. And they're just good. They went 9-8. They were 9-8. They weren't even that good. They were like a mediocre football team. He had a good year. And they ran into a very dysfunctional, falling apart Philly team, which if they hadn't run into, like any other team they probably run into in the playoffs, they get beat in the first week of next week. So
they fucked themselves too. They were down 8. They had 4th and 13. They didn't call a timeout, and there was 40 seconds left. And I'm just still confused why they didn't call a timeout.
Either way,
act like fucked up with the timeouts on the screen, but they went home with the timeout. They didn't make them attempt a 47-yard field goal. I'm still flabbergasted by that, but I digress.
And everything else gets expensive. So then we go back to the picks. Everybody wants the picks. You went on a tangent there, and I broke down the mid QB. Eli's a mid QB. He might be the outlier. He was the number 1 overall pick, though. He did win 2 Super Bowls. He is kind of mid, but he's much better than anybody else I listed.
Eli Manning has top 20 statistics in
Yeah.
every single major passing category.
That's
So
why
you can say he's mid all you want, but he's got the touchdowns, he's got the fucking yards, yeah, he's got the picks too.
He does.
He's got all the fucking important stats.
Eli Manning's the best Bears quarterback in the history of the Chicago Bears. So but he's still better than anybody I listed there. Anyways, back to the pick package everybody's going bananas for. It reminds me of, remember when the White Sox started hoarding prospects after those trades, and everybody was a prospect guy now, and we need more prospects. I'm not trading away anything. We got the farm. I think after last year's trade, Poles got all of that, and they ended up with the number 1 overall pick again. People in their heads are like, "Oh my God, we'll trade with New England, and we'll get the number 1 overall pick again, and we'll add all that." It doesn't work that way. There's a good chance that they'd make the same exact trade they make this year, and they pick 10th and 9th or 10 and 11 next year. It doesn't always work out the way that you think it's going to work out.
Caleb, compared to Mac Jones, that roster 2-3 extra wins on his own, dude.
Yes. And again, all that doesn't matter if you get the quarterback right. None of that matters if you get the quarterback right. Do you think the Rams cared they traded all that to go get stat? It doesn't. As long as you get the QB right, you win. That's what. So just get the quarterback right. That's all that matters. I know they haven't won since then, but he is banged up, so that might have been a bad example. But everything else gets expensive. So that's what I was referring to. Then, sure, we add all these awesome draft picks in for the next couple of years, but in 3-4 years, they all get super expensive, and you can't keep them all. Their primes go away. Ground and pound and defense is what Chicago does best. I've seen it my whole entire life. So that's what they'll do in that draft. they'll add a bunch of awesome defensive guys that they can't keep them all. And none of this will matter unless they get the quarterback right. They'll win 12 games next year, right? 12 games. And I still won't be surprised in 2 years if they win 6 or 7 then, because they lose some guys. So just get the quarterback right and everything will turn over. But sorry. I'm going Drake May or Jaden Dan. I like real life football. This is not fantasy. That's what I have to take off my fantasy head here. It's hard to do because if it's a super flex league right now and I'm drafting, I'm taking Jaden Daniels. More fantasy upside to me there. Real life, Drake May. Yeah. Drake. But I'm a little worried about both of them. But I would take Jaden Daniels in fantasy. In real life, I definitely a little worried. And it's actually kind of funny that he brings that up because scramble rate on non-pressured dropbacks. So basically, when they're clean, Jaden Daniels' scramble rate on those is 9.4%. So he looks to scramble and run and get out there, even when he's kind of clean back there a little bit. Justin Fields in college, 8%.
Oh, geez.
Also did that, by the way. So Justin Fields' scramble rate on non-pressure dropbacks, we saw it coming in college. Everything was there. You read the scouting report. His scramble rate on everything. It was all right there, and we've seen it so far there. Third on this list is Drake May at 7%.
Really?
Yep. Do you know where Caleb Williams comes in?
He's low, wasn't he?
3%, right next to CJ Stroud.
Yeah, I thought he was
and actually Michael Penix is Penix. That good Lord, if I'm gonna, I really need. It would have been fun if he did get drafted to the Bears. Like if they did pick the Fields route. No, hold on. Let me explain why. Because when you get the drunk Polish guy and the accent calling the radio at noon, and he'd never be able to pronounce Michael Penix. He'd say it wrong every time, and when you would just hear, what come out of his mouth, it would be good radio here. But only 1.3% for him, so that was actually pretty impressive. He just has a lot of other mechanical issues, but
he's a passer, man. He's a passer.
JJ McCarthy, 3%. So Brock Purdy right there at 3.8% too. Down there, your favorite quarterback.
Okay.
But yeah, so Jaden Daniels, Fields, and May, not great on that when it comes to that one number there. But I would take May over him. May just, I don't know. I don't have any interest in Drake May this year.
I don't either. He's a baby-faced North Carolina quarterback. I got absolutely no interest in Drake May. Jaden Daniels, on the other hand, he intrigues me only because he wowed the fuck out of me at LSU so many times. But how many quarterbacks have wowed the fuck out of me in college that just don't translate to the pros? I couldn't imagine spending a top 3 pick on either one of those guys. I get it's the NFL. You got to get your quarterback position right. That's an essential kind of a thing. I wouldn't. If it had to be, these were the 2 guys, I'd be trading that first pick down for sure. I wouldn't be drafting one of them.
But I might just have like PTSD from North Carolina quarterbacks because of Mitch. And I might not be giving Drake May a fair advantage. I have watched some film on Drake May, but I'm not a scout, so you don't want my opinion on that. But I see what they're talking about on the negatives there. So, yeah.
I definitely have Mitch PTSD. That's 100%. And actually, I had like a $200 just teaser one weekend, and I did it was like a live parlay bet, and you get to buy points, so it basically turns into a teaser. It included North Carolina against fucking a 2-win Virginia team that was playing on the CW that day because I just wanted to check Drake May out. Guess what? They lost, and he played like a big bag of shit. So at that day, I was like, fuck you, Drake May. And anyone who hypes you, I think you're bullshit because you lost to a 2-win Virginia team and you played like dick doing it.
Yep. All right. That was fun. Caleb Williams, Justin Fields. We know both of us are Team Caleb, so we didn't have to really go back and forth on that one.
I wish I was Team Justin. Trust me. I wish I was. I really, really wish I was.
We laid it out. We gave you a bunch of numbers here. It wasn't just our gut telling us this stuff. And Andrew Luck's, the guy who scouted Andrew Luck and helped develop Andrew Luck, today I heard on sports radio here, he said, everybody, like people are saying no chance is he really an Andrew Luck type prospect, blah, 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 blah. And he said, I scouted Andrew Luck. I helped develop Andrew Luck. If Andrew Luck was a 10-10 or a 10 prospect, Caleb Williams is a 9-9 at minimum prospect. So I get everybody's a little, because Mel says it too, and we get a little nervous now with Mel. Like, is Mel saying he's the for sure fire guy? Like, when Mel says that, it usually doesn't bold well. But it kind of does bold well, because I gave you the numbers on the number one, the quarterback selected 1 overall. So I guess even Mel doesn't do that bad, but we do probably get a little scared in our head when Mel's out there saying his BS.